What is the people? It's Articulation Productions, and actually, you know what? I'm gonna let you guys imagine what I've done by Linkin Park is playing in the background. Now it's finally time I take a look at something I've been meaning to for the last 8 frickin' months. That is, of course, the Transformers Studio Series Autobot Arrival 15th Anniversary box set. Now for this review, I'm going to be doing things a little differently. I'm going to be splitting this review into 5 parts, 1 per figure, those being in this particular order: Optimus Prime, Ironhide, Jazz, Ratchet, and Bumblebee. And yes, for that review, I'll be using the SS49 figure instead of the actual box set figure because I don't want to risk breaking the door wing hinges again. But enough about the bug, let's talk about the almighty leader of the Autobots, Optimus Prime! The painting and sculpting on Optimus Prime here is not half bad. Although, after watching that Toy Guy's review on this box set, which you can check out at your leisure, apparently Hasbro had not adjusted the paint budget for these guys when they were putting this box set together, so they had moved some paint to other parts of the figure while leaving other parts completely unpainted, which in some cases benefits the look way more than others, which is the least I'll say for right now. As far as Optimus goes, he still does look really good, but I sort of wish they didn't use this garishly bright gray for him, and instead went for a more similarly darker shade of gray like his 2007 and Dark of the Moon figures used. But I am glad they never reused the old dark blood red for the red parts on this figure and went with this more appealing shade of what I can pick out to be a bright crimson red. Compared to his last couple of movie toys, the Trek cab windows are made of a tinted black plastic, unlike SS44 where it was just the opaque plastic with silver paint for the windows, and the original SS 2007 figure where it was just clear plastic with a little bit of paint over it. And the large torso piece behind all of this junk is entirely made of clear plastic, which is a bit worrisome knowing the reputation of clear plastic in previous Transformers toy lines, but there haven't been any signs of cracking or stress marks, which does make me slightly less worried. And hey, that's way more than I can say for Bumblebee and Ratchet. And of course that face sculpt is super movie accurate, although I do feel like it's a tad bit disproportionate compared to the rest of his body, but I'm pretty sure that's due to how the transformation works. And continuing on off from my Legacy Blitzwing review with addressing the plastic quality, I'm not going to be a Shepardtron and whack this guy with a pen, but from what I can tell, Optimus here feels pretty nice to hold and play with while in robot mode. Obviously there isn't a whole lot of weight to him and there isn't much filling in the torso, but there aren't any other hollow parts that I can spot. Maybe except his spark after Dark of the Moon. And as far as accessories goes, he comes with this pair of handy dandy Energon swords, which you can install in his hands in one of 2 ways. Either you can plug them into the tops of his hands, or take the blade of the opposite side, flip this panel down, and insert it below his hand, which I believe this is the more movie accurate configuration. And I will fully admit that the transparent plastic does sort of like cooked salmon orange, and I'm totally not saying that because that toy guy said so, but they do look great in hand, and so you can recreate that famous forest battle from Revenge of the Fallen. Yeah, this is the best I can do for now. And as far as storage for these, there isn't much place for them to put them on besides the same place you would do in vehicle mode, but that doesn't look that great, does it? Or I guess this also works. Now let's cover the articulation. So there's a ball joint at the head with a really good range of movement. You can look up and down. The head can rotate a full 360 and a little bit of head pivot. The arms can rotate a full 360. The shoulder pad is on a hinge to accommodate the arm's outward movement, bicep swivel, bend at the elbow, wrist swivel, a bit of a limited waist swivel due to the tires, but if you bend them forward, the range of motion is freed up a little bit. Legs can move forward that far, the legs can move back quite a bit. Splits, swivel at the knee pad is on a hinge, bend at the knee, the feet can move up and down, and there's a limited ankle pivot. Articulation for what is basically a Wave 1 Studio Series toy is very good. This guy can pull off a lot of action poses as you can see, and I find that this guy is very good for stop motion. The only limiting bit is the wheels on the backs of the legs, but besides that minor detail, Optimus is very well articulated. And now it's transformation time! Generally, the transformation on Optimus is a little bit fiddly, but it's usually never frustrating. And the 1994 Peterbilt 379 semi-truck mode is pretty good for the most part. Alright, let's just start out by just getting the negatives out of the way. Just like that toy guy, yes, I did break that exact same tab on the front grille because I was trying to pull it the wrong way and I was trying to transform him back into robot mode. And on contrary to some people's opinions, the feet on the bed of the truck, in my opinion, aren't really that much of an eyesore, but then again, that's probably just me. And this wheel on the back of the truck just loves to flop around whenever I pick it up. But besides that, that's basically all the nitpicks I have about this truck mode. Now, generally, I think the truck mode looks great, especially since I really like the truck they used for his original Trilogy Alt mode. Although one thing I forgot to mention is that the truck mode really doesn't like to hold together all that well, or parts just don't like sitting flush 100% of the time, which does sort of pull back on the playability. But even then, this truck mode rolls really well despite the previous issues. Oh, do you see what I mean now? So, like, the only other thing that does irk me about the truck mode is since that tab is broken, the front grille just does not like to sit flush anymore. With all of the flaws I have previously mentioned, Optimus in truck mode is a bit of a mixed bag. Wanna know something you can do with this truck mode? Behold, the bull truck! Also, he is a bit too small in truck mode, but this line has never really been about scale now, has it? And speaking of size, now it's time for size comparisons, and Optimus here feels a little bit shorter than he should be. Here's Studio Series Optimus Prime compared next to the Figma Kyoko Sakura and Sayaka Miki, Figma Saber 2.0, Studio Series Dark of the Moon Shockwave, SH Monster Arts Bio Goji, NPM Barricade, New Age Mista, my last review Legacy Leader Blitzwing, Studio Series 07 Megatron, 07 Bone Crusher, Revenge of the Fallen Grindor, The Fallen, and his backstabbing mentor Dark of the Moon Sentinel Prime. Now for this review on the box set, I'm going to be skipping the showing of the box because 1, you'll see it multiple times if I did it in every single review, and 2, it's simply way too big for my tiny filming area. So we're gonna cruise on to my final thoughts on this figure. So my closing thoughts on the box set Optimus Prime. He's a little bit of a mixed bag for me, but otherwise a very good figure overall. There are some issues like the lack of paint in areas where it really needed it, like the insides of the shins and the forearms, and the problems of the truck mode, but I feel like the positives of this guy outweigh the negatives severely. Now, I'm not going to talk about where you can purchase this box set in this particular review, but I will just go around and saying this figure alone goes for ridiculous prices on the aftermarket. And I'd say if you can find him for under $70, $80 somehow, then I would recommend this figure, even though that figure only comes with the ion gun, and that's pretty much it. Either that, or you can try and track down the Dark of the Moon Optimus Prime, and I might just try that out. But when you compare this guy's aftermarket prices to Ironhide,
you are all maggots!